You have likely never paid a single cent to use Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp. Yet Meta is one of the most valuable companies in human history. This paradox is the foundation of the modern digital economy. While you are scrolling through your feed, Meta is performing a complex series of industrial-scale operations in the background. It is not a social network in the traditional sense. It is a high-frequency trading floor where the commodity being bought and sold is your time. Meta has mastered the art of turning human attention into a trillion-dollar asset, proving that in the digital age, if you aren't paying for the product, you are the product. To understand how they achieved this, we have to look back at how a simple tool for connection became a global engine for attention. The journey began in a Harvard dorm room with a platform designed to rank faces and facilitate social connections. At its inception, Facebook was about mapping the social graph, the invisible web of relationships that defines our lives. However, the leadership quickly realized that simply connecting people wasn't enough to build an empire. The true value lay in the data generated by those connections. By observing who you talk to, what you like, and what you linger on, Meta began to build a digital twin of every user. This transition from a social tool to an attention engine was the most critical pivot in the company's history. It allowed them to move beyond being a website and become a persistent layer of the human experience. As the user base grew into the billions, the company developed a sophisticated system to keep people trapped in a cycle of consumption. This is the engagement loop. Every notification, every like, and every infinite scroll is calibrated to trigger a neurological response. By using variable reward schedules, the same psychological mechanism found in slot machines, Meta ensures that users return to their platforms dozens of times a day. This is not accidental design. It is a calculated effort to maximize time spent. Because every second you spend on the platform is a second that can be sold to the highest bidder. This mastery of engagement is fueled by a data-gathering operation that is unprecedented in its scale. Meta doesn't just know what you do on their apps. They track you across the entire internet. Through the Meta Pixel embedded on millions of third-party websites, the company knows what you buy, what you search for, and what you intend to do next. This data allows them to segment the global population into thousands of hyper-specific taste clusters. This level of granular detail is what makes their advertising platform so lethal. When an advertiser wants to reach a 24-year-old living in a specific zip code who is interested in high-end road bikes and organic coffee, Meta is the only company that can deliver that exact person in a millisecond. The financial results of this model are staggering. Meta's revenue is almost entirely derived from advertising, and because their cost of content is effectively zero since the users provide it for free, their profit margins are astronomical. They have built a machine that converts human boredom into cash. In the mid-2020s, despite various public relations crises, the company's revenue continued to climb because there is simply no other place on earth where an advertiser can achieve such high-precision targeting at such a massive scale. For small and medium businesses, Meta is not just a marketing channel. It is the primary source of their customers. However, even a dominant machine faces the threat of obsolescence, which has forced the company into a series of aggressive survival moves. When Facebook's growth began to plateau among younger demographics, they didn't try to out-innovate the competition, they bought them. The acquisition of Instagram for $1 billion and WhatsApp for $19 billion were not just expansions. They were defensive maneuvers designed to ensure that Meta owned the next version of attention. By integrating these platforms into a single family of apps, Meta ensured that even if users left Facebook, they stayed within the empire. This pivot to a multi-platform strategy allowed them to dominate the mobile era and remain the primary destination for digital attention. Despite this strategic brilliance, the empire is currently navigating a landscape of significant risk. The first major threat is regulation. Governments around the world are increasingly viewing Meta's data practices and market dominance as a threat to privacy and competition. From the app tracking transparency changes introduced by Apple to the stringent Digital Markets Act in Europe, the walls are closing in on Meta's ability to track users without friction. If the company loses its ability to harvest data across the web, the precision of its ads and therefore its pricing power could begin to erode. Furthermore, there's the risk of attention saturation. There are only 24 hours in a day, and the competition for those hours has never been more intense. The rise of short-form video competitors like TikTok has forced Meta to pivot yet again, pushing Reels across its platforms to keep users from drifting away. This constant Red Queen's race, where the company must run faster just to stay in the same place, is exhausting and expensive. This is why the company has bet heavily on the metaverse and artificial intelligence. They are looking for the next frontier where they can once again be the primary architects of human interaction and attention. As we look at the current state of the business, It is clear that Meta's power is tied to its role as the world's most efficient middleman. They don't produce anything tangible. They simply facilitate the exchange of attention for information and commerce. This makes the company incredibly resilient, but also deeply vulnerable to shifts in human behavior. If the world collectively decides that the cost of participation in terms of privacy and mental health is too high, the empire could face a slow, steady decline. Ultimately, the lesson of Meta's trillion-dollar rise is that attention is the most valuable commodity of the 21st century. It is the fuel that powers the modern economy, and Meta has built the world's most efficient refinery for that fuel. They won because they understood that human connection is a powerful hook, but human attention is a powerful currency. By turning our social lives into a series of data points and our downtime into an ad auction, they have created a business model that is as controversial as it is profitable. In the end, the screens we stare at are not just tools. They are the portals through which Meta extracts value from our lives, one scroll at a time.